You're listening to Women Are the Journey with your hostess with the mostest. That's right, me, Audrey Groeschel. We've got all your journeying here. We've got the story of the shift, where women entrepreneurs talk about their own unique journey on the road of owning a business as a woman. We have the journey of Chew on This, where I talk about the masculine structures of our society, how they hinder women in particular, but all of us in general. We'll open up the potentials of what a balance of feminine and masculine can give to us and to our planet. Join me as we explore the infinite possibilities of a journey of balance and transformation. Hi, everybody. I have to tell you, you are going to love today's podcast. Today's story of the shift is brilliant. We're welcoming in Amy Humphries. She's a mindset mentor for entrepreneurs, helping them lift off the mask and show their true colors to catapult their business forwards through the power of being real and committing to big-ass results on their terms. You can find Amy at irunthisship.com, and you can find her on Facebook at her group of Aligned and Unlimited. Transcend your limits and receive at full capacity in business and in life. Let me tell you, you're going to love what she has got to say. Let's welcome Amy in now. Welcome into another day of Women Are the Journey, where we are talking with Amy Humphries from I Run This Ship for her story of the shift. Welcome in, Amy.
Hi, Audrey. How you doing?
I'm wonderful, and I am so grateful to have you here with us today. And I am really interested to hear your story. Just as a little background, I've followed Amy for quite some time. And in the last, I want to say it was at least 6 months, maybe a little bit more, I saw Amy make a huge shift in her business. And I am super curious as to find out what happened. So first off,
excited to share it.
So first off, let's find out where you are right now, Amy.
Wow, it's a big question, isn't it? Where am I now? I'm on the other end of a complete paradigm shift in my life. And it is exactly as you just said. It was a very significant shift from operating very strongly in the masculine paradigms and being completely unaware of it until it kind of blows up in your face or becomes just force or struggle, and you think that's the norm. And I started questioning because I didn't feel good, and went on a journey of discovery into what is happening as it was showing up in my business, in my life, in all areas, and allowed everything to just fall away to allow the creation of something new. And where I'm at now is very much a unity of these two essences. And everything in my life has shifted. It was the year before, I think when we were talking, my business was on a major growth. All the usual markers, right? The external list size and income and all this stuff.
Right.
Until I got to a place where a wake-up call happened. And we think that that's the only metric of growth sometimes, or, it can certainly feel that way. And didn't feel good. And so had a big, turn the whole thing upside down and have found a new balance. But it's so much richer. And from this place, just so much more can grow. So does that give you some idea?
Yeah, it does. And I love the fact that we can get to exactly what you're doing right now, but I love that just as a base of where you're starting.
Mm.
So let's get back to then that first crisis that got you going down this road. What was that about?
Crikey. Well, where do you want to go back to? I mean, I looked at this question. I was fascinated by your question of what are the crisis points in your life?
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to me because I was like, wow, my crises in my life, my story has been, they were always around what am I here to do? Like purpose-based ones.
Right.
I would say the first crisis was when we're going back into university time, was when I wanted to do languages, very good at language. And that was my heart-based choice. That was what I really desired to do. Okay. But kind of just fell out of love with it about a year in, left that university and then got to choose to do something else. My mum was like, you need to go, blah, blah, blah. And that was my first experience of making a choice out of very much with the head. What would make sense?
Right.
What could make money?
Right.
All that stuff, right, that we get stuck in. And I clearly wasn't very imaginative because I got through the prospectus, the brochure, and I got to A, which was accounting, and I was like, I'll do that. Like, I think it was a great example because whilst they can, this journey into understanding who you are is so multifaceted. But one of the major areas for me was I'm a communicator, but not a bean counter. And I found myself in a degree that was so the wrong fit.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine you in accounting.
It's a joke, really, when I do my own accounting. Yeah, but there we go. First choice there of making a decision based out of fear and what was going to look good or what would sound good to other people, probably.
How long did it take you to make that choice?
I mean, that probably was about, I didn't have much time there. I had to get moving and do it again. Okay. Probably 3 months or so. But that, you asked the question of did you get any help? And that one, it was, I looked outside of myself to what is everyone else doing. It was a very juvenile, we all do.
Well, you were in university, so there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making juvenile decisions when you're juvenile.
Exactly. But I really came to see that pattern was it went forward, it paced forward in life of having those moments of what am I here to do? Mm-hmm. That's where my biggest wobbles / redirections came from.
Okay. Well, so then I guess the next question, sort of crisis, would be, when did you start sort of really consciously turning inward on making those decisions?
Not for a long time. I had many more of looking outside and what looks good and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I could run through a couple of them that kind of piggybacked off each other.
Sure.
And I think you'll see kind of what connects up. So we've got not knowing what am I here to do with my life. Like so many people, right? We choose.
Absolutely.
What looks good, what's going to make money, et cetera, et cetera. When I came out of university, I knew I didn't want to do a corporate gig. I was not made for that. I actually had a boyfriend at the time who went to go work for Richard Branson on his island. And so I was like, hang on a minute. You've got people who are getting jobs like that. And then the other option is go to London. I was like, why? The world didn't make sense. So there was my second crisis of here's what the world wants you to do.
Right.
But my heart wants to go somewhere else. And so at that moment, I made a very crazy decision, decided I wanted to become a sailor. Hence my company name. I run this ship because I became a sailor for the next 8 to 10 years. And that is such
I love that story, though. I do. I've loved it since the first time I heard you tell it. It's brilliant.
Totally random, and I'll be hands up. I was chasing a boy. And it just, then it turned into adventure, right? Quite literally. Yeah. But my gosh, what an indoctrination into a very masculine structure. You're literally in that hierarchy system. Ooh. Where I worked on the deck, so it was very much a male role, and I worked my way up into becoming a chief officer, where it was made very clear you had a guy's job.
Yeah.
Those were many moments in there of crisis where actually the defining moment was an accident that happened. This is what got me to leave this job. I've talked about it once on my blog, and it was the title of that was called "I'm a Liar and a Fraud," and it was because inside of so many of us, I think everybody has a story of if they think somebody knew about what this one thing was, that everyone would know you're a liar and a fraud. And so my story was being a female chief officer. I had 2 incoming captains. They were kind of crossing over, and they wanted to do something that I was like, "This is not safe, etc., etc. I don't want to do it." And they said to me, "Man up, stop being a pussy." And I was like, "I don't want to do it. It's not safe. All these reasons." We ended up going ahead and doing this. They were putting a sail up on the dock, a big boat, right? You don't do that. And the new incoming captain fell off of the boom. And, landed on the one place he could have done to not die.
Oh, my God.
But you never forget those kind of crunch sounds and this scream. Anyway, so that was my first experience of shock and trauma. I went into freeze, didn't really understand what had happened after. I knew I just felt very shaken up. But things started to unravel from that moment. And I started to realize there's something, I don't want to do this work anymore, blah, blah, blah. But something had shifted on the inside, you know, that's the effects of shock and trauma. You start to shut down a bit.
Yeah. That's awesome. I do love the fact that that's what you did, because there's so many people. I mean, what an adventure that you had. And I think that is, I mean, I would wonder how many times in the rest of your life, and even moving forward from here, all of those experiences out on the sea that you had for those 8 years are there giving you whatever that past experience was, that information, like what helps you, what part of that helps make those decisions now? Like, what did you learn from that?
Yeah, my God, so much. It's so funny because when I left the boats, one of the biggest things that was so upsetting was, what the hell am I going to do now? Because I was all trained in radar and I'm a great painter. I can spray paint a car for you, you know. And I was, oh, what the hell? Right. And I remember thinking, and I think a lot of people would identify with this, like, I don't have the training or the experience in a new thing.
Yeah.
And what's actually proven to be true is that cross-fertilizing where you have been with a new direction gives it so much more depth and richness.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any training in copywriting. I learned all this stuff, but I utilize sailing metaphors all the time to just break through complex mental bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Like literally one of the main collision regulations that you got out at sea is maintain your course and speed, you know, and we just don't do that as entrepreneurs. We're all over the place. And it's like a simple concept that we can use to just cut through the noise and understand something deeper. So yeah, and I think facing a few times of quite literally mortal peril was definitely good training for sort of getting a thicker skin, for sure.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Most of us have never experienced that. So yeah. Woo, okay.
A few close calls, yeah.
Yes, okay. I think those are stories all on their own. So let's move into the entrepreneur journey then. So so you left the boat.
Yep.
And then you stepped into what?
Well, left the boats with a mild form of PTSD after this accident, right?
Wow.
And so that was, I mean, a huge lesson now knowing is that your gifts, the awesome stuff in your life comes from the shit.
Oh, yeah.
When you transmute it, right? And so my experience of having major panic attacks, sitting on the stairs, like, what am I here to do? I was 32, I think, and you know, you're at that phase where everybody else is like getting married and kids, and you're like, I don't even, what? I have got no roots. So it brought up a lot of stuff. And so that, though, was what, you know, drove me into seeking solutions, as so many of us do. And in those solution finding that you find a new path. And that for me, I went and I had a one-off random session of NLP with someone.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Yeah. And I remember just thinking, what was that? Because in 1 hour, like, so much stuff in life it got broken down and it moved in an hour. So from there I started training all those things, coaching, NLP, hypnosis, all sorts of energy therapies. So I started my business initially doing energy work, frankly what I'm doing now. I've been gone full circle, and it was all the energy, it was what's going on inside, but I had my very strong lesson in niching in that I went for kind of city people who were often like lawyers who wanted to leave their job and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't much fun, the work. They weren't really my people, but I knew it was the right industry, but I wasn't really loving the people. And long story short, I think I was very masculine kind of brained anyway, in that very good with technology and all of that stuff. And so I kind of found my way into doing the back end of business things, you know, the website, the funnels and that. And I found myself this was that classic moment where we go, you can be really good at something, but it's not necessarily what you love.
Right.
It's that difference between that zone of excellence and genius. And so
Absolutely.
I was excellent at the internal game.
Right.
But found myself it was easier to sell, like classical air quotes going, like, easy to sell the, you know, the physical how-to stuff. Right.
Right. All the tangible, easy to, and the thing is, it's tangible and easy to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll back that up. But I mean, I will back that up. But for a long time, I was literally teaching people. I was a lead generation specialist. You know, I would teach people how to use Facebook ads and leads and webinars and email sequences and all this stuff.
Right.
And it was fine until it wasn't. And I think this, and I, like so many crisis moments, it comes from tiny choices that aren't made or that you overlook.
Yeah.
And you just ride over physical sensations in your body, resistance, resentment, whatever. It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And it's too many of those moments together that just cluster together, and all of a sudden you find yourself going, I did not choose this.
Although you actually did.
Absolutely. Exactly. Shows every step of that. Completely unconsciously. And so I realized that I was operating the whole business, how the big shift happened, was, as you can see why I shared those other stories, was a lifetime of making choices of what would make other people happy, proud of me, what would make money, what would be the logical choice, right? Logical. As opposed to really sinking into who do I want to be and trusting that it will unfold. And so a lifetime of making choices of, and fitting into very masculine structures, and then trying to fit into that, and never quite embracing what I had lots of conceptions about femininity being weak, wafty.
Oh yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And all over the place, not structured, not not going to create results. It was incredible, the things I dug up this year. So. And it all just came to a head, really. I was rocking and rolling in my business. I was fully packed out with all these things. But I just noticed I was tired. But more than anything, I was resentful.
Ooh.
I didn't enjoy it anymore. And I just, it didn't feel good. That was the tipping off moment.
How interesting. And how long do you think it was that you spent in that time zone of not feeling good?
I think it was, if I'm honest, probably about 6 to 8 months. And I think, and I kind of tried to outrun it. And I initially thought, I just need some. So I actually hired a couple coaches at that time. I remember one of them I hired was a sales coach, because I was like, this is a sales issue. I just need to, raise the pricing or shift the model or something like that, right, and then I'll feel more happy. And I started to realize this is not a sales problem, because I could sell anyone, but I was just like, I just don't want to sell anyone. And then I also simultaneously had a different, another coach who was, because I, again, thinking, we do this, it's so funny now, you look back.
Yeah.
Because we all think outside, I've got to fix the outside stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm overwhelmed and I need to clarify down all my systems and all this sort of stuff. So I had a coach for my processes, and she was amazing, because she never interjected in saying, I can see what's going on with you. She just kind of leant back and let me figure it out. But again, I realized, I was like, I don't need a better system. I need to stop doing this completely. Yeah. And from that moment, it just started to let it, I tried initially, and I wish what I would say, my advice to anybody ever going through something like that, when you start to notice something shifted, is to be really curious about, well, what could that be?
Yeah.
And allow the new to start to mingle with what you've been doing. Where I now realize what I did, quote unquote, wrong, but that was all I knew how to do, was I couldn't have the space for the two different worlds at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I did mix for a bit. I had mindset. I started to be clear to your listeners, I was doing very straight up lead generation, marketing, all the kind of how to.
Right.
But my heart is in the emotional root cause of what's showing up in your body, and why you don't, what you're really here to do, your true genius,
right,
natural pathways, your DNA, all this stuff. Like, it's a complete opposite world, right? So the two didn't kind of mix for a long time.
Let me ask you really quick. Where did you, your business was just rocking and rolling at that point. Even at that point where you were crisising yourself inside, your business was it hurting in any way? I mean, were you losing clientele, or were you just rocking and rolling still?
I had built it such that I had a group program that I only needed to really add a few people each month, and there was always very good, every month good income.
Right.
And so that's why I think I didn't notice it for so long, because the contracts were all 6 months.
Right.
So I could have been grumpy 6 months ago, but still rode out the wave of that, for a while.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that I started to realize, I'm not enrolling more people, that then you started to see that residual income going down. Then I was like, okay, this is a problem now. So it did end up hurting financially.
Oh.
But in the beginning, I think I wrote it out because of the structure of the business, which I highly recommend. But what I now know is pay attention to your body. It tells you everything.
Mm. Doesn't it, though? Isn't that amazing how that works? I know. As I sit here speaking for the fact that I just spent, the whole weekend being sick with 102 fever, I wonder what my body was trying to tell me. Yeah. I totally get it. Get it. So what did you do? Did you shut down the whole business?
Initially, I had a coach. Again, I had another coach for this, who's somebody I really recognized as somebody who was operating very much in her flow. Did not have any systems and structures to her business. And so I was just loving that. Whilst working with her, I was just going, yes, your soul's going, this is how I meant to operate. And so I did launch a new program. It was all mindset based. And so I did run them side by side for a while, and slowly just stopped enrolling for the lead generation, and then just started to filter over. There was a period where it was both running, the lead gen working very, very strongly, and the mindset on the side.
Yeah.
And then they kind of dwindled both down a little bit. It was like an hourglass. And only then when what was fascinating to me was I actually put my income on a graph over 3 years, because I wanted to look at what's the pattern with me.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating to me, because I saw the pattern, and I think so many people will see this in their own business, that when you're in integrity and alignment with you, where you are at that moment, things move.
Yes.
When it starts to get confusing in your own system, when you're at odds with yourself, your results show it. If I'd had those periods of like, I hate what I'm doing, websites and stuff, and then going, I'm going to do consulting, and it shot straight up and up and up. But it also had these big peaks and troughs to it. And I was like, what was going on there was, again, it was the resistance showing me I didn't want those clients, but I kept going, force, do it again. Force, do it again. And so it was fascinating to me to see that on a graph. What did I do about it? I allowed the new to come in, and eventually ended up letting the old stuff wane away. And I think that's probably when maybe you noticed it around about 6 months ago. I was like, I noticed that pattern, that when you're in confusion with yourself, nothing works. Stop fighting it. Let it go. Yeah. And just, as you said, I think before we got jumped on, sometimes you need to just stop everything. Yeah. To allow the new to take root.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really do. And it's not even just so much stop. It's that you have to be quiet. You have to allow the peace to enter you, because you can't hear the messages going on inside of you. The messages outside are so loud, and they dominate everything in our entire world, our society. Everything is so loud. To find a quiet space to hear the messages inside that are far more important and so much more difficult to hear, it's essential. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I, for one, have gotten off of Facebook. I'm really moving strictly away from so many things that are noise generating.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. That's definitely been the shift. Hey, it's been in that period of time of the shift and the integration from literally one operating system. Yeah, that's what it was, and that's why it felt so. Because my brain used to go, "What have I got to do? What's the process?" Yeah, right. And I was a master at mapping out, going, "Where's your end goal?" Right, and let's reverse engineer it and da da da. And
your processes were brilliant. Seriously, like you could make the shit happen, baby. Damn.
And then I couldn't stomach it. I could not stomach the idea of an email sequence. Are you kidding me? It was amazing. It was like an allergic reaction within me. And the flip to the new operating system of not what have I got to do, just picking up on what you said. It's who do I get to be? Yeah. And you can't, as the primary place of operating, by all means back it up with structures like paving your way after you've been.
Of course.
My understanding now of the masculine feminine is I lead with the feminine principle, and the masculine supports that.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, but the feminine, I mean, even I've been obsessed on like YouTube and researching so many things. You know, back to look at like ancient Egyptian stuff.
Yeah.
Those that was not a patriarchal society. It was the pictures of or the statues often have the feminine.
Yeah.
Not necessarily as the ruler, but probably was the ruler, but with the masculine principle to back it up, to support that.
The balance between the two. Everybody working in conjunction together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that principle because nothing in this world is created with the entire plan laid out in front of it. You might have the blueprint of the what's to come, like the acorn theory, or you look at DNA or whatever.
Right.
But if you think of you got kids, right? And it's like, you didn't make that with the giant plan and wake up every day and go, what color eyelashes or eyes have I got to make? And I've got to do nails. And you let it just unfolded naturally. And so that was the shift, right? Of moving from so much of trying to control and force your way through life.
Yeah.
And sink into what feels good to me now. And the one word that I hinge probably the entire year on of the shift is curiosity. Allowing yourself to be curious about what feels good to this one, and go there and do that, and then more stuff just unfolds, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, and that can apply, like that applies to food. What do I want to eat today? You know, what feels good today? What sounds fun? Like, what sounds fun to eat to me today? And what kind of exercise do I want to do today? Like, how do I want to move my body? What would my body like to do today? You know, I mean, that's one of those things that I've really experimented with. And I think that it applies, full spectrum to everything.
Yeah.
And like I said to you before when we were talking before we started, is that I took that time off and I wrote the bones of a book. In 2 weeks. I laid down almost 10,000 words. You want to tell me that wasn't like meant to be and I wasn't in flow? There's no way I could have just like sat down and said, okay, I'm going to sit here for 2 hours and write. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it does for men, but women don't. And I didn't sit down at specific times during the day, and I went to the coffee shop. You know what I mean? It's loud and it's noisy and there's music playing and I'm just typing away. I put down 1,000 words in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It really is where you want to be and how you want to listen to yourself. Oh, this sounds good today. I like this.
Yeah.
You know? And if it doesn't feel good, then don't do it.
Totally. Because what I most certainly learned, and everything about my business now is about being in alignment, right, at the core of it.
Yeah.
And for me, the main definition for the work that I do in terms of people with their business is about being your 100% yourself at all times, in all ways. And so if you're like, I don't feel good, you've got to allow yourself to tell the truth about that. If anything, to yourself.
Oh God, yes.
You're right, because they're never going to get anywhere if you're not, just don't be honest with yourself. But certainly with your relationships around you, that relationship could be, as you said, with food, with your body. This doesn't feel good to be. I realized I didn't feel good to doing CrossFit, which was, I loved it. It was very raw. And now it's like I was more integrated stuff, right? It wasn't just like more floaty stuff. It was more just different. Body wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
But I think, picking up on what you were saying, we are in a huge paradigm shift in this movement from a very strong masculine society to understanding the feminine principle more.
Yeah.
Is going quite literally from the head to the heart, and allowing the electrical energy, the energy, the connection between the heart and the head is so powerful, but it's not utilized.
No.
And so what you're saying, I've been retraining my literally internal operating system to go, head goes at, what's heart say?
Yeah.
And I used to be the biggest, I used to roll my eyes because I would obviously be interviewing people all the time for their messaging and stuff. And they'd be like, I work with heart-based entrepreneurs. And I'd be like, who hasn't got their heart in the middle? You know, and I would, get all jokes about that. But following it from a place of who are you? What have you got to say?
Yeah.
And it is unique because of your unique pathway before this, and if you allow yourself to show up fully and integrate it all, it's completely unique.
Yes.
despite somebody right next to you, 10 of them, hundreds of them doing the exact same work, it'll be different.
Absolutely.
You can't see it unless you come out, you know?
Exactly. It's one of those things that I have thought all along with the balance between the masculine and feminine. Every time I start talking to someone about the feminine, they all say, oh, well, but we're all masculine too. And I say, of course we are. We're all a unique balance of it. You have to have action. Masculine is action. That's what gets us going. But what you said earlier was absolutely perfect. Women have to lead with the feminine. That's what you lead with, the heart. And then you follow it up with the action to get it going.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's for both men and women. It's the principle, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets confused, isn't it? But it's like, man can't be feminine. Actually, the woman I worked with this year has a lot of her clients are, you know, super high level mega achievers, and a lot of them are men because they are also finding themselves being burnt out with the raw warrior mentality of like, man up, do it, you know, that kind of thing. They are noticing to feel their emotion as well, communicate that, and take damn action. Yeah,
that's great. And I think that's really, it's really awesome. And I think that it's so sad that we've made it unsafe for men to be in their feminine at all. Mm-hmm. You know, one of those things that our society as a whole needs to work on, but it also has to start individually. You know, the only way to change anything is from the ground up.
Yeah, totally.
We all have to see it in ourselves first and then accept it in everybody else second. And then we start moving it up.
Goodness. Yeah. I mean, before we got on the call, you were talking about the book, The Queen's Code, right?
Yeah.
And, that because you were saying it's a ground up movement, right? And you want to change it exactly that. You got to recognize where you've been playing into that game yourself. And that book, for anyone who hasn't read it, is about how women unwittingly emasculate men.
Yep.
And I mean, the amount of women I speak to in a business context when their business is growing and they're kind of like, you know, pissed about their man for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And the problem is often they're like, he's not being the man, or someone else isn't showing up in a certain way. And I was like, there's no room for him to, hun, because you're in that shoes.
Yep.
So when everybody gets to, you got to realign yourself first. And as you said, then you can hold that space for somebody else. And, but my God, does it shift so much?
Yeah. In my own relationship, I kept saying, why is he not the man? Well, that's because I was.
Yes.
I'd taken up all the space. He had no space for being a man. He just sat back and let me do it. What he did is became the kid.
Yep.
You know? And so at the moment that I started stepping back and downshifting my masculine, all of a sudden, blah, there he was again, you know, there was that man that I fell in love with again. Whoa, look at him go.
You know, funny you were talking about like feminism. When I had we've kind of gone off piece, right? But I think it is so relevant because we are masculine and feminine in our action and our thought patterns and our operating procedure within ourselves. Yeah. But you cannot, I mean, I'm very into using a tool called the Gene Keys. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's about well, to not go into too much of it, but your path to prosperity lies through relationships. You kind of can't. You can't create it without money comes from other people's bank accounts, right? So it's always going to come that way. But we're not talking about just money prosperity, love prosperity, right? And when I was reading the Queen's Code, one of the things, I remember going to the car park, to the local supermarket, and I bawled my eyes out because I had this like shame upwelling of just noticing all the unconscious behaviors that I'd done and caused so much a crisis and pain to myself, let alone others I'd worked with. But what I was going to say, the irony was about feminism. It's so like, I don't do the ironing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was on a little bit of a strike with my man about, and I don't do the ironing. And it just sounds so bizarre to put this in an interview around business stuff. But me recognizing that how I was showing up as masculine and not honoring my man or just any relationship was I was saying, no, I'm not going to do this thing because of some false idea of it being feminist, right? Yeah. I'm my own woman. I run my business and all this. And then I realized that what it actually provided for my man. And it was one conversation that brought up this thing. And I said, okay, well, I'll give it a go. And I just said, it was 16 minutes to do all the ironing, right? But I made such a big deal of it. I did this ironing the one day and bam, in like a day, patterns that had been ingrained within our relationship moved because of something that I'd never realized or allowed to, to come up to the surface was griping him. Oh. And it was me going, I got to give to my man. And then, my God, did it come back, right?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does. And the personal is business for us. For women, it absolutely is. Men, not so much, because they live in their boxes and it's only one box at a time. That's all they can only do one at a time. And so for them, the personal isn't business. Business is their business box. Personal is a personal box. So that's fine.
I wish I could have that.
I know, right? Seriously. Oh my God.
It's just like a watertight door in my compartment would be helpful, but yeah.
Oh my, and you know what their best box is? The nothing box.
I know, I've seen that too.
Oh my God, I want a nothing box. How do you do that? Oh God. Oh, I said that to him the one day I'm sitting there watching him play a game. I said, "Are you in the nothing box?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's awesome." Oh, okay. You suck, but okay. But the thing is, for women, everything is connected to everything. So the personal is our business, and business is our personal. There is no getting away from it, and everything affects everything. That's the way it is.
Yeah. So how you do one thing's how you do everything.
Yeah. So now you iron. Now you iron.
I do. I iron, and I'm damn good at it. I'll be honest with you. It's actually become a moment of productivity, if we say that. I listen to audiobooks and I just do the damn ironing.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for the ironing.
I love it. Okay.
But everybody has got something like that in their closet, right?
Yes.
In terms of a gripe or a thing that they're just holding off in some false idea of, if I, it makes me weak to do it or something.
Yes.
And the readdress of the masculine and feminine principle across all aspects of your life, it doesn't make you weak. It builds, there's a difference between force and strength.
Yeah.
And that's the difference that I feel that I've shifted from. It's forcing my way through life to having strength in my life. Yeah.
It's allowing. It's allowing guidance. It's allowing everything. It's allowing it to come to you. It's being open. The more you fight it, the less allowing you can allow into you. You can't allow abundance. You can't allow love. You can't allow anything into you. No success in your life at all, the more you fight. So simple stuff, really. And so easy to implement in your own life. Okay. So let's get to, what would be your biggest recommendation to women out there on their entrepreneurial journey when they hit those crisis moments? What would be your biggest suggestion?
Pay attention to how you feel. Your body will tell you everything that's going on. If you're getting physical symptoms, if you're getting resentful, extremely tired, whatever, or just sensations of meh, whatever, it's a sign. And so I mean, I have a process that I literally use to dive into this now, which is the beauty of it, right? Out of the crisis comes an entirely new business. And the process that I walk through is, what am I feeling?
Okay. The
feeling first, not what am I thinking necessarily. What am I feeling?
Right.
Why do I feel this way? And being honest. You're not going to get anywhere without telling the truth.
Oh my God,
I overread it. I was like, why do I feel this way? Oh, I'm just overwhelmed and busy. And I was like, I'm pissed off at doing this work. Yeah. And if I'd allowed myself to go there, I would have shifted through it much faster. So what am I feeling? Why do I feel this way? And when you've allowed yourself to really tell the truth, and if it's something that's really bringing up emotion, then there's something in there to look at, right?
Right.
And then when you really come around to peace in that, why do I feel this way? Then you can move into more conscious action around it. And it's like, okay, well, what do I want? And again, tell the truth. This is like any kind of conflict negotiation. Like, if you don't know what you want going into it, you ain't got a chance in hell of getting it. Yeah. So, and it's allowing yourself to be, what do I want? I want more peace in what I'm doing. I want to do work I love, you know? And it's okay to just declare that. You ain't going to get it otherwise.
That's true.
So what am I feeling? Why do I feel this way? Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And if it's about somebody else, then knowing what you want out of it, it helps you to communicate that. So what do I want? And now, okay, cool. What is the tiny thing I can do, more into the action of, like, to just realign myself into that. Right. Because when you're in crisis, everything can shift on a dime very, very, very quickly.
Ain't that the truth?
If you allow the new to take hold.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to sit on our old stuff And what took me a year now takes me a day to shift and integrate something new idea, boom, it's out and sold. Whereas before it took me 6 to 8 months because I was like, I don't know if I can or I should, blah, 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 blah. So that's just what you feel.
That's brilliant. And that's a great testimonial right there, just for paying attention to yourself. What used to take you a year now takes you a day.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And how many of us would not love to be able to drop that angst and pain and fear and anger and everything else that we deal with? Why am I feeling like this? And ripping your hair out for, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that's brilliant.
I used to feel like I was on the shore of the beach getting whacked by the waves. And now I just feel like I'm bobbing on my little kayak outside. Yeah, I feel the waves for sure. And sometimes I go, whoa, I'm wet. but, then, but most of the time it's just there's a lot of clearing work that's been going on and stuff. But
great analogy. Love that.
Yeah, that's just what you're feeling.
Okay, brilliant. So, lastly, plug away, girl. Tell me about the business, what it's doing, and who you're looking for, and who would enjoy talking to you.
Oh, well, if you are a woman who is a transformational professional, this is my area, right? You deal with metaphysics, body intelligence, transforming brains, bodies, hearts, all of that, businesses, all that sort of stuff. And you found yourself feeling at that kind of impasse. You've been doing your thing for a while. It's probably been working, but something shifted in you. If something shifted in you and your business is flatlining, or you're going up and down, and it's stuck in a cycle, then I can help, because I work with people on, number one, it's realigning to your real zone of genius for where you are now, because you've evolved, right? And upgrading that and allowing you to move into that. And then really knowing about the internal game of how do you shift the micro habits and patterns that you have to transform everything. It's the micro thing. We literally talked about just feeling your body allows me to make money faster, because I get a new idea and I just go, well, I don't have any resistance to selling that, so fuck it, put it out there.
Awesome.
Right? And so we deal with your genius zone, your internal alignment, and then how do you sell your wisdom for what it's worth without needing all the tech and all the drama. Like, it can be that simple when you are aligned to receive it.
I love it.
So that's me. You can find me over at irunthishship.com or Aligned and Unlimited to get hold of a free training series about thinking in and feeling and knowing how to navigate your resistance. And as I say, turn your resistance into profit-generating fuel.
I love that. And I can't recommend Amy enough. She's wonderful and fabulous, as always.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. This has been an absolute joy, and I got so many tidbits. I kept taking notes, and I'm just going to be, re-listening to it and taking my notes and everything else. And it has been wonderful, and I can't thank you enough. And I hope everybody will enjoy listening over and over to Amy's tidbits.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been good fun, huh?
Yes, it has. Okay, and then that is it for this episode, and I will be talking at you soon.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends. You can follow me on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher at Women Are the Journey. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.